Hey guys, welcome back to the show. It's Christine Jewell. Today, Mark and I are back in the house together. We're back in the studio together. We're doing part 2 on last week's episode because one of the questions we get all the time is, how do I have greater connection with my spouse? How do I get the intimacy back? How something's not quite clicking, where we can share a bed, we can share a bank account, we can share a last name and still feel like strangers and still feel like we're just feeling this friction all the time. And no matter how hard you try, things are just not clicking into place. So today we're going to talk about the 3 layers of intimacy, the 3 layers of connection, where you're missing the mark, and how to get into alignment to lock those 3 in so that you can take your marriage to really the next level, which is the God level, right? The unshakable marriage. Hey, it's Christine. I'm interrupting our program for a minute to ask you a question. Could you use a breakthrough right now? What is the one area of your life that you know that if you had a breakthrough in this one area, if you broke through this wall of resistance, this challenge that you're facing, this mountain, that it would change the game for you in every other area of your life? Listen, if I'm talking to you right now, I want to let you know about a 30-day breakthrough coaching experience that I'm offering up for a limited time. It's where I'm going to work with 3 people very intimately, one-on-one. There's going to be daily touch points, daily action steps, and the opportunity to talk to me directly a couple times a week. And we're going to get to work on that one area of your life that is the domino that's going to knock down every other thing, that is just going to open the door. So here's who it's for. It's for those of you who are ready to roll up your sleeves, get to work. You want to execute at a high level. You want that person in your corner for support to call you out on the blind spots. It's also for those of you who don't want to deal with surface level fixes anymore. You want to get to the root of the problem. We're going to pluck the root out and we are going to clear the path. It might be mental operating systems. It might be spiritual stuff going on. It might be as simple as getting into full decision and getting clear action steps. So if I'm talking to you right now and you are ready for a breakthrough, click on the link below. There's going to be a short application for you to fill out. Once our team receives that, if we think it's a fit, we're going to send you the offer with all the details, the pricing, the investment, and the clear next step. You guys, if the program is full, we'll drop you into the wait list. Again, if it's a fit, we'll let you know when a spot opens up. So if you are ready for a breakthrough in this season of life, click on the link, fill out the application. I'll see you on the other side. Let's dive in. Today, Mark's going to interview me again. Maybe we'll share some personal stories. We'll see how it goes.
I'm vying for the job of chief interviewer for the Breaking Chains podcast. My goal in life, Okay, Christine, let's get into this. Here's what I want to know. Okay, where you're talking about 3 levels of intimacy. Let's go one by one and kind of just build this out. And as a quick review, if you go back and listen to last week's episode, or you did listen to last week's episode, we sort of walked through my journey of understanding the 3 parts of the human experience, right? Which are the physical, the soul experience, and the spiritual, the spirit body that we have. It really warped my mind. I'm still recovering from it. I'm getting used to thinking about life this way. I didn't always understand this. And I've always known, I've known this to be true. That's why parts of it, when we talk about through some of these things today, it's going to seem, oh yeah, of course that's true. That makes sense to me, but nobody explained it to me this way. So look for those little ahas and surprises as we go through this conversation here today. Christine, you get to coach a lot of people that are going through relationship challenges. We've certainly been through our share. What is it misalignment in these things, in the physical, the soul, the spirit, that's causing all of this? Now that we know how influential and how important each of these 3 aspects of the human experience are, is it a misalignment? Is it the enemy attacking us? Is it what is it that causes husbands and wives to not want to sleep together anymore?
I think that's going into the big framework. So let's back up a little bit. For those people who maybe haven't listened to the previous episode, go back and listen to it. But here's the thing that we hear a lot, right? Signs and symptoms that we're misaligned as a couple, that there's friction. And obviously you can feel it. But again, maybe you're only connecting in one area. Maybe the sex is good, but there's no depth. You have surface level conversations. You're not intellectually clicking, you have chemistry, but everything else is, you got your own spiritual life. They've got theirs. You've got your own work and mission. They've got theirs. So you're clicking in one area, but not the other. You might be intellectually really on the same page, right? stimulated. We have the best conversations. We're even best friends. We love it, but not into each other. Like the physical thing isn't happening. And spiritual, what's that? Like we don't do spiritual connection. So it's understanding that you can be roommates. Maybe this plays out looking like roommates. And I'm using these words because these are things that I hear a lot. Like we never fight. We never fight. Right? We're like the best roommates. We're the best co-parents. We're going through life. Some people say we're great business partners, but we're not great lovers. We're just not clicking over here. So I just wanted to bring up some of those things as you think about where are you experiencing like this friction where I know we're connected, but we're not as connected as I want to be, right? There's like a gap there. You can't quite put your finger on it. So that's what I really want to speak to today, and even just address what does connection really mean to people. We're in this illusion of connection that, hey, as long as we're together, we're dating, we're married, we share the same last name, like, yeah, we're connected. And then we get married or we get in these relationships and we still don't feel it. We're like, no, I'm still not, I don't have access to his heart. I don't have access to her heart. We're not mentally on the same wavelength. And we're trying all these tactics and things in our toolbox. And as somebody said to me yesterday, I've tried all the tricks. Nothing else is working. Help. What do I do to get to her or get to him? That's really what I want to start to unpack, right? So if we're finding ourselves there, we're craving that connection. First of all, is just noticing what level are we connecting on? Where do you feel like you're missing? Where do you feel like you're craving more? So we can unpack the three layers, right?
Quick clarification. So is this the same for women and men?
Absolutely.
Right. So it's the craving connection. I know as a man, right? Like I crave the connection to me is more important than anything, right? Yeah. You want to feel like, I don't know how to describe this with good words right now. Like I crave that connection. I don't know how to explain that better. I crave the
more than just physical, right?
It's beyond physical. It's almost, you feel like you could finish each other's sentences a lot. And you know where they're going to be, you know where they're at. When you see those certain, that certain body language, good, bad, or indifferent, you can see it, but you don't really take it personal. You just know what to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a connection there. And then there's times when that's off and then we got to sync back up. But that's what it is for men. Is it the same for women?
100%. At the end of the day, we have to remember, and I think this is where I want to start, the three layers, and we're going to unpack them a lot more, are physical, soul level, and spiritual. So go back and listen to last week if you want a much deeper explanation, because today I want to get into what does that actually look like. But we have to remember that first and foremost, we're not male or female. We're spirit. We're spirit first, right? We're spiritual beings. That means we have a spirit. We have a part of us that desires to be connected to our creator, to the author of life, to have meaning, to have depth of purpose, to be spirit to spirit connection. So there is that part of us. It doesn't matter if your name is Mark and Christine or Joe and Mary. We all have a spirit. Soul. We all have a soul as well. The soul, as I mentioned last week, is our mind, our will, our emotions, our personality, the part of us that's, okay, this is my persona, right? This is like the expression. Right? Yeah, this is the expression of who I am and my gifts and my talents and my desires. And so at the soul is where we have the mind, the shared thinking, right? The shared belief systems, the shared structures, shared dreams. So this is like the place of mental and emotional intimacy. The spirit is the place of spiritual intimacy. The soul and the mind is the place of mental and emotional intimacy. So we hear this, yeah, we're on the same wavelength. We love the same things. We have the same values. We have the same dreams. And obviously the spirit guides a lot of that, but soul to soul, this is why you hear terms that are not necessarily thrown around in the right way, but you'll hear things like, oh, they're my soulmate, or my soul knew them from a long time ago. It's like, they've captured my soul. There's that part of you that's like the soul is your essence. Then your physical body, that's pretty easy. That's this vessel that we get to walk around with. And this is all the thing that encompasses male and female biology, sex, safety, trust in the body. It feels good to physically be around you. My nervous system is not freaking out when I'm around you. Defensive, shut down. There's actually a desire, a softness, a safety physically. And so this is where we're physically not only attracted to each other, attuned to each other's needs, but also have a desire for one another. So there's physical connection and intimacy because we are both physical. We are physical bodies, right? We are spiritual bodies, and we are soul bodies. Only one of those is actually the physical body that we carry around, but all three are present all the time. And I want to unpack these a lot more because, again, we've all experienced that, like physically present, mentally absent, physically present, and emotionally not home. And so we can be touching, we can be hugging, and still I feel nothing. I feel nothing. And I just wanted to have this episode and really unpack these three a lot more because, and I want to we could start with any of those: spirit, soul, or sexual intimacy or physical intimacy. But I wanted to just really say this because I see that we try so hard in the physical realm and we're really missing the mark on the other two.
Yeah. I think that's where most of us think it is. At least I can speak for the men in the room. Like when you're not having sex on a regular basis, then you feel like, okay, then I must be screwing something up, or something is off, or I'm not being respected or cared for, and things like that. And so I suppose there's partially a conscious experience there, but it's mostly because you're being ruled by the physical.
Which is powerful, right? We have desires, we have aches, we have natural, like just things that our bodies need, right? We have sexual desire. Appetite. So I do want to unpack the physical connection and the physical intimacy, but where most people start is actually the last point of connection. We know that like foreplay or whatever, it starts long before you jump in bed together, unless all you care about is the sexual connection, the physical connection.
That may be news to some.
And I just want to say some people have these relationships with their spouse, with friends. This is like the term friends with benefits or spouses, right? And so we show up, we have maybe like we're showing up only at the physical level, and we don't really want to develop the others. But I want to say that if you are really seeking holistic intimacy, that kind of unshakable bond that's not easily shaken, we have to start at the beginning, which is the spirit. Right? The spirit is where all things originates from. And then we go into soul, and then we go into the physical. So I like to work in that order, but we can start wherever you want.
You determine the order. I'm fine. I'll follow. Which one do you want to go with first?
I think we need to start the spirit. Right. Okay. And by the way, we're going to get to body. So okay.
I think so too. Let's do it in the order that we would recommend people do it in.
Yes. Because even this week I had somebody reach out. It's been so long since we had sex. I almost forgot what it's like. Any tips on how to make it better? Any tips on how to reignite the passion? And you could give some physical tips of how to hug and how to give her a massage or whatever you want, or create safety or create the mood. But that's still only going to be a Band-Aid. It's still only going to be a Band-Aid. And if you want to keep pulling boxes of Band-Aid out, go for it. But if you really want transformation, a new marriage, a new level of connection, we got to start in the spirit. So let's start here. The Word of God says over and over again that we are one spirit. We're called to live as one spirit. Ephesians 4:3-6 says, make every effort to keep the oneness of the spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body. There is one spirit. There's one Lord. There's one faith, right? We hear this all the time, that 1 Corinthians 6:17, the one who is united with God is one spirit with him. Over and over again, the Bible talks about us being one spirit, and that our relationship with God or Christ is the example for marriage, right? So when we come into relationship with Christ and we want intimacy with Christ or God, he lives in us. His DNA is inside of us. His breath is in us. His blood is in us, right? And so we are one. I can't separate. It's not like he's out here and I'm out here. And so it is when we marry someone, our spirits are now entangled. They become one. Okay. Whether we think they are or we think they're not, they do. The conflict comes when spiritually we don't observe and honor the same God. We might have all kinds of idols in our life, like maybe money's the God, our business is the God. And I'm not saying you have little idols set up around your house. That might be the case. But I'm talking about really we have put other things first as the ultimate source of our identity, the ultimate source of our meaning and purpose in life, anything that takes the place of number one in our life. And how do you know? It's what keeps you up at night. It's what you wake up thinking about. It's what you go to bed thinking about, right? That's a God in our life. And sometimes
it's the 3 a.m. head spinning, staring at the ceiling, can't go to sleep because it's on your mind. Like that's the stuff
and
that
if
you're likely worshiping.
Correct. If whatever we worry about 24/7 is what we worship. Whatever we talk about 24/7 is what we worship. Yeah. Whatever, right? And that there's a spirit behind that. And so it's okay to be talking about what our business and the mission and what God is calling us to do, but we have to pay attention to what's the spirit behind it. Is it a spirit of fear and a spirit of anxiety and a spirit of greed and lack? And because so when we're not yoked in the same way here, we're going to have spiritual dissension. Like we're going to have a break, right? We're going to not be able to spiritually connect. And so when we are aligned to the same God, we're one God, right? We are one spirit. We're focused on, our eyes are both focused on keeping the main thing. Now we can come, we can pray together. We can have spiritual practices of meditation, of prayer, of meditating on the word of God, of speaking life into each other, of speaking identity into each other. We're so much more mindful of the source of our security as a couple. So why do people get divorced? Not enough sex, not enough money, or religious or political reasons. Really. Those are the top four, right? And it's like, so what has become the source? Like the source of all of our stress, the source of all of our anguish is money. The source of all of our stress, the source of is this like obsession with the flesh or obsession with these other things that are going on.
Okay. As you're saying that, I'm just getting hit with this little epiphany, if you will. So I think what the world would tell you is the number one reason that people get divorced is over money. They fight over money. There's not enough of it. And so what I'm putting together between that little worldly fact plus what you're telling me right now is that because money has become the thing that we're worried about, that we're effectively then worshiping, right? Then that becomes the demigod. And if there's not enough of it to go around to provide for the things that both of us want and or need, then we can't be separated because our spirit isn't actually concerned about the money, but we think it is. But
our spirit is not grounded on true security, on true eternal provision, right? Because we think we're not okay unless this thing takes care of us, unless this thing provides for us. So that could be a spirit of greed, a spirit of money, a spirit of poverty. It could be fear, it's lack, it's all of it, right? It takes a form. But my point is that when we are spiritually connected, and some people are spiritually connected over a spirit of fear. Okay. They are connecting spiritually over fear and anguish and suffering. And that's where their spirit is all the time. Do you know what I mean? And so their mindset is there, their actions go there, their heart's there. And so it becomes a full manifestation in their marriage. I also have worked with clients, and I'm going to use a simple example where I've worked with a client where you have one spouse that's like wanting to believe what God's word says about their marriage, their future, they're more relaxed. And the other spouse is constantly anxious and agitated and really hijacked by a spirit of fear. Yeah. And so this is where we are called. If we want to unify, we can't just be talking about tactics to make the fear or the anxiety going away. First of all, we need to get together and really become of one spirit. Are we going to operate by a spirit of faith or a spirit of fear? Are we going to operate by the spirit of God and Christ that set us free? Or are we going to operate under the spirit of bondage? 2 Timothy says, I've not come to give you a spirit of intimidation or fear, but a spirit of power and of courage and of sound mind. So the first order of business, when we start arguing, and you and I have done this lots of times, we'll catch ourselves, we're in the middle of an argument. Sometimes we're like, wait a second, what just happened? What are we even fighting over? We're fine. And then all of a sudden there's like this disruption in our atmosphere. We're fighting. Something throws us off our feet. And as long as we keep going in circles around the physical conflict or the mindset around it, we're always butting heads until we get to the place where we're like, hold on a second. Let's pray about it. Let's come back to the truth about this situation. Let's get our spirit right and under the right authority, under the right source. And when we align ourselves to the spirit of truth and the spirit of life and the spirit of love, the spirit of God, now we submitted to that. We allow him to be the authority over our marriage. We allow him to be the source of protection, of security, of direction, of provision for our marriage. Now it's okay. You don't have to carry the whole weight of being all of that for me as my husband. You can't be my God. And I don't have to carry the weight of being it all for you. And this is where we see just a lot of people saying, yeah, I believe in Jesus. I believe in God, or I believe in some greater power. But spiritually, there's all kinds of friction because we're either serving all kinds of different gods and we don't realize it. We got competition happening in the house. Mm-hmm. We're inviting all kinds of demigods inside of our house. We've got all kinds of gates and doors open. And because how do we do that? By what we meditate on, what we fixate on all the time, what we give our soul to, and what we give our body to is what rules us.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just thinking, I want to make this personal here for a quick second for the benefit of those who can see that we can talk about this because we lived through it. And when we first moved to this beautiful house here in North Carolina, this is the merging of our homes and the merging of our space. And one of the things that we brought in that we both do, right, is drink a little. And we have this beautiful patio. Several of them, actually. One's upstairs on the terrace, one on the back patio, one on the front porch. And it's nice at the end of the day to sit down and have a glass of wine and unwind and disconnect from the end of it, from the doings of the day. And there's nothing wrong with that. And for us, that became the thing to connect with. Right. And one glass would turn to two and, so on and so forth. And we're doing a bottle with dinner every night and things like that. It was more nights than it wasn't, if we're being honest. And the alcohol bill was fairly high as a result. And I think maybe your body metabolizes it better. But I know that I was not good every day after even one or two glasses of wine. And sometimes it was 3 or 4. And was it a problem, right? Did I need to go to rehab? Not necessarily. It was not a problem when I decided to finally quit. It was actually quite easy for me. And that sort of became the little demigod, right? For us, the way that we were connecting that was our physical level. That was the soul level, right? But the spirit wasn't worshiping something higher than this earthly thing, which is
and it was a gate, right? It would open the door to anger to creep in a lot more. It's just like we get weak. You get weak. You get physically weak. You get mentally weak. Your soul becomes weak. And so it creates opening. Alcohol is one of those huge things. I work with a lot of people who deal with alcoholism. I come from a background of having an alcoholic father, and we got to know these things, it's not that everything is permissible, right? The word of God says it's like you can drink, don't be drunk on wine, right? Don't be double-minded. But when it starts to open doors and you start to notice, man, this is weakening us, not strengthening us. This is opening doors to bickering and arguments and sensitivities and offense. We have to pay attention to those things. It could be movies that we're watching. It could be just conversations that we're consistently having or stressing about our kids or whatever it is. But I want to go back, and that was a great example. Thanks for sharing that. And we have lots of these, but I just want to say how important it is that you can go far as a couple with great mindset and like shared dreams and visions. But all those dreams, all those visions, all the desires, they come from somewhere. So they either come from God or they come from something that is not of God. That's it. And we have to ask ourselves, as we're checking in and we're looking to connect, is this dream that he's given us? Is this desire? Is this decision? What is the source of this? And this is why I think the conversation around the spiritual connection and the spiritual intimacy is so important, is that number one, are we serving and submitted to the one God, or are we bringing in all kinds of stuff? Number two, do we have a practice? Are we honoring a practice of spiritual intimacy and sacredness ourselves with God individually, and then we bring a great spirit to the marriage. Like we're already one, right? And so the reality is when you're married to someone, if their spirit is troubled, your spirit will also be troubled because you are one spirit. If they're opening doors spiritually that they may or may not know about, or there's things going on in their family line that were spiritual things that were passed on, spiritual giants, and this is a totally different podcast, but you're going to be dealing with your spouse's spiritual stuff that they're bringing into the marriage. And often it shows up, not the first week of marriage, but a couple years in. And how do you know? They're like patterns. They show up. They're physical patterns, their emotional patterns, their mindset patterns, their behavioral patterns, but they have spiritual roots. And this is why if you only try to go and fix the physical behavior, I don't like it when you do that. I don't like it when you talk like that. Why do you always have to do that? You're not doing enough of this. And we're trying to get your partner to dream like you dream or think like you dream. It doesn't happen unless you first go to the spiritual root, which is the source that brings things into your marriage. Okay. So I want to move on to soul, but I want to make sure that we're clear on this, that every single thing originates, everything in the physical realm originates from the spirit realm, everything. So we're getting it from somewhere.
No,
right?
That's great. It's so good the way you're explaining this. And I'm glad that we went with spirit first versus physical first. And the reason is because it makes sense, right? Everything, if we have to abandon or divorce ourselves from what we have been taught and what we've largely experienced in the physical realm, right? Even like marriage counseling, for the most part, only addresses the physical and the soul level, right? Soul. It doesn't get to the other. And so when you understand, like, I'm actually, as you're talking, I'm self-editing my first marriage in the first couple of years. And that was when I was like, oh, that was not there before we got married. That did not show up. Like that person, that I did not marry that person. It showed up after a few years in.
Because the spiritual stuff starts coming up. It starts rearing its ugly head or its beautiful head, because spiritual blessings are transferred, and so are spiritual curses. And so any idols and things get pulled in, and we have such a high level of influence over each other. Remember that sex is it's the strongest binding agent. So God created man and woman. He created the male and female. The first command, first he blessed them, then he told them, go multiply, fill the earth, take dominion over it. Sex, intimacy is the thing that bonds us. It's like the glue. So when you're having sex with somebody, you are your spirit is now one spirit with theirs. Now, if there's competing spirits at play and stuff, that's where we have chaos. Competing agendas and mindsets and stuff like that, that's where we have chaos. And I want to share one more story before we move on. I actually had somebody call me yesterday, and who is, again, trying to support their partner, and was saying to me, every time I share something that I'm excited about, I have these dreams, I'm very driven, I'm ambitious, I want to be excited about sharing this with my spouse. And you and I have gone through this too, right? But every time I share my success, and this wasn't just yesterday, this is another thing I hear often, actually, in coaching calls, when I share my success, or I share my ambition, or I share my drive, or I share my wins, then my spouse gets upset. They get upset because they start comparing themselves to me. And she, in this case, feels bad about herself. And how many times this has happened with you and I in the past, and it's happened the other way around, and it happens so often. If you're successful, then somehow I'm not doing enough, I'm not good enough, I'm failing. And so now what happens? You have a spirit of competition, a spirit of division that's coming in. Instead of saying, wow, if you're successful, that means we're successful, because God is advancing us. He's doing something in us because we are one spirit. But a spirit of division wants to come in and say, do you see what he's doing? Do you see him? He's succeeding and you're failing. You better hurry up and go do something. And I want to say that the battle is real. This isn't that we have this conversation once and then it's over, because the reality is every day, the spiritual battle is happening. The battle's for your thoughts, for your heart, for your soul, for your actions. Because if I feel divisive from you and I feel like I'm feeling and you're winning, then what is my head going to do? What is my heart going to do? It's probably going to shut down, get a little cold. Am I going to feel like hugging you and kissing you and cuddling with you and being affectionate? No, I'm going to probably shut down, go into self-protection mode and go, I need to go make things happen myself so that I can catch up to him. And I want to say that these are the battles that are actually happening inside of home. Spirits of division are coming in. Spirit of death is coming after your marriage. It just is, right? Where you want to multiply life. And so a spirit of offense is going to try to get you to be like, did you see what he did to you? Did you see the way he looked at you? Did you see what she just said? And we have to know what is going on at a spiritual level so that we can come back and align ourselves spiritually first. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to move on to the soul then, unless you have anything else you want to ask or say about that.
We could just do 3 parts for this whole thing and go deep into each one, because you can. Let's move on because we don't have time.
Yeah,
I got to physically pick up some children.
Okay, let me finish the story, right? Going back to that story where I said, you got to understand, don't get defensive if she says, oh, you're winning and I'm losing and I feel like a failure, because the bait here is that now you get defensive and you either shut down and you don't share your wins and you're like, fine, I have to babysit her feelings. So I'm just not going to say anything. I'm not just going to tell her what's going on in the business. I'm just not going to tell her what's going on in my life. And now the enemy starts winning. Now the disconnection starts happening. So obviously the strategy is to redirect the other person, the other partner, to get you both under one spirit. That's, you know what? Hold on a second. We're in it. We're one. It's not me against you. We're not even doing side by side. We're not doing parallel. We're one. And so whether God is doing something through me or through you, he's doing it through us. And so we have to bring that person back to spiritual alignment. And I say, pray over it and speak life over it. Then we go to level 2, which is the level of the soul, right? So the soul is, again, it's like my personality, my gifts. We were just on a lunch date right before we recorded this podcast. And we were talking about our spiritual gifts and like just also our gifts. God wired me differently, right? I have certain gifts and things that are just innately like, I have gifts of knowledge and like insight, and I'm a quick start and I can just create really quickly. And you have different gifts. And we were talking about just how we're wired differently to be able to facilitate and hold space for people and move businesses along. And again, this is an area where we start to see division because I want him to, we're competing with each other instead of recognizing we also need to be really connected. We are connecting at a soul level. Can we honor the uniqueness? Because now you have two souls, right? That are becoming one enmeshed, entangled thing here, right? Because we are entangled at a soul level. Just can we honor the individual parts of the whole? Can I celebrate that she's got unique talents, unique personality, unique will? Can I celebrate and honor him instead of, this is where disrespect comes in, okay? I don't like the way he thinks. I don't like the way she talks. Why doesn't he think the way I think? And so what we want is a carbon copy of ourselves. We don't understand that we need to be of one mind. So this comes back to, what does God say? We are God. Give me the mind of God. Give me the thoughts of God. Because God also has a mindset. He has a way that he thinks about things, about money, about sex, about respect, about dishonor. So it comes back to redirecting our thoughts and our will and our dreams and our desires to get under the right thing so that we are one, headed in the right direction, in the same direction.
Clarify for me the one mind.
And we hear this all the time. And I had a whole list of scriptures together. So let's talk about can two walk together except they be in agreement? Okay. We hear this over and over. So that's from Amos chapter 3, right? Can two walk together except that they be in agreement? Philippians 2:2, make my joy complete by being of the same mind, having the same love towards one another, knit together in spirit, intent on one purpose. So when we talk about one mind, this is where you see competing mindsets at play. I want this. What's will? I want this. I want this. I want this now. I want this now too. And so we have competing dreams. We have competing goals. We have competing interests. We have competing timelines. And so we again have to submit our wills, which are pretty strong, right? To the greater thing. What is our will together? Our will is to do the will of God. So what is God telling us to focus on in this season? Right now, there might be things I want to do, but are they the right thing for right now? And so this is really a conversation about, yes, we have different unique personalities, and yes, we'll have unique goals, and yes, we'll have unique belief systems, but we are called to take every thought captive and to submit it under the one guiding authority that will govern us. And so how many times we've had visioneering sessions, we have dream sessions, and there are things that we're like, yes, we share the same. We're in one mind around that. We know what the property gets to look like. We know what that thing is. We want the same thing for our children. Yes. Does it check with what the word of God says? Yes. So now we're of one mind. We're in agreement with one another, and we're in agreement with what God says about it. One mind. You and I are of one mind, and we're of the same mind as what God would say. Doesn't mean you won't have unique beliefs and ideas. One desire. Do we have the same desire for each other? Do I have a desire for you to win, for you to succeed, for you to grow? Do you have the same desires for me? Are those godly desires? Those are also desires. Those are part of our soul makeup. And we'll have certain unique desires, like I'll have desires to sing and play and have adventures, and you'll have other ones. But the key is, are they, first of all, is our will submitted to God? Are our desires submitted to God? Are our belief systems, the belief architecture of God, or the belief architecture of fear, or the belief we'll never have money?
Yeah. So I'm thinking about a lot of people listening to this right now. And I'm listening to it through 12-year-ago ears. As I hear this and I think, wow, I literally went through a 3-year stretch where I didn't teach or train. I didn't teach, didn't speak, didn't travel, didn't do any training. And this was my first love. I have an anointing over my life for teaching. My spirit loves it when I go out and get in front of an audience or make a video even. And I did none of that from 2008 through to 2011 in order to please someone. And so what that means is like we were not of one mind. We did not want what was best for each other.
No, there was competition, right? Competition is one of the greatest symptoms or indicators that obviously you're not of one mind.
Yeah, because if one person's happy, the other one's not, or can't be. Yeah.
And that is not God's design for marriage. It's not, one person thrives while the other person is suffering. That wasn't the thing. It was multiply and prosper together, right? Advance the kingdom of God together, obey God together. And so he will give you visions. He'll give me visions. He'll give you desires. He'll give me desires. He'll give you ideas, me ideas. And we have to bring them together. Right? This isn't about me hiding off over here doing my agenda, my way, my belief systems, and you doing your thing. And then every once in a while we crisscross and go, okay, cool, date night. Let's have fun. Let's go out. That's very elementary dating. Yep. The thing is when we bring our visions, we bring our dreams, we bring our goals together, and we start doing this together as one mind, and we start praying over it.
Literally, this as an example, this just happened yesterday. I went for a workout, went for a walk, and I'm listening to a sermon, and I get this like really clear download, right? And and here's what we're going to do with this project. This is exactly what it's supposed to be. Stop overcomplicating it. Just make it simple. Move forward. Do that, right? Pay this bill and do this thing, etc. And it was those two things and one more, right? And I just hear the voice in my head say, "Go tell Christine." And so I march home from the walk and come in the house and march upstairs and say, okay, this is what he told me to tell you. And like in every instance, you gave me ideas that were better than the idea that came into my mind first, right? They accomplished the same mission. They accomplished the same goal. I have to be willing to let go and not flinch when the ego flinches, right? Because this is what I heard, and say, but actually the idea that she just gave you actually amplifies that 10x. See how that works?
Yeah, that's the multiplier effect.
Like a 1 + 1 = 10 instead of just doing the thing. And if it was just up to me, like I would have come home, I would have executed against that. Boom, done. And now we have a better path forward.
Yep. And as you're talking, this is so important. I love that. I love it. I love it because I think so many of us hesitate. We're like, I don't want to share my idea with him. I don't want to share because why? Pride gets in the way. I want it to be my idea. I want it to be my thing. I don't want it to be cut down. Maybe she'll reject it, right? We have all this garbage. But again, when we are yoked under one spirit, then I know like I have a desire to hear you out. Yeah. And I also know that my role as your wife and your role as my husband is when I bring something to you or you bring something to me, that we're able to offer insight, revelation, questions. Like we complement that. God does multiplication, right? We're always adding to each other. We're always adding. And so it's always going to be better when two or more get into agreement. Matthew 18:19-20 says, I tell you the truth, if two of you agree on earth concerning anything you ask, my Father in heaven will do it for you. Wherever 2 or 3 gather in my name, I am there. 2 are better than 1, for they have a good return for their labor. If one falls down, the other can help the other one up. Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. What we see over and over again, make my joy complete by being of one mind, is this importance on us coming together and truly being of one mind. And the reality, again, is this. If you are sleeping with someone, if you're married with someone, you end up thinking like they think over time. Their thoughts, their belief systems over time start penetrating and influencing you and becoming your thoughts and your belief systems. Marriage is the most potent amplifier of everything, curses and blessing, thinking, patterns, all of it, right? So we want to be aware, is our thinking getting better? Is it elevating? Is it expansive? Is it unifying? Is it multiplying? Or is our thinking broken, poor, right? complaining, grumbling. We're connecting mentally around commiserating, complaining, worrying, stressing, right? All of these emotions. So the soul also encompasses the realm of the heart. So do we connect on our past pain? How many couples get together and they're still talking about what their exes did to them? Listen, I'm going to talk to all of you people that are divorced for a second and that are remarried. We have to stop this thing about fixating on what our exes did while we're married in this new relationship. Because every time we do that and we focus on what she did and what she didn't do and what they did to me, and we bring that into our marriage, you're bringing that soul tie, you're opening a gate that says, I'm inviting that into this marriage right here. It's like you having a beautiful garden and you come and you dump a pile of crap right on it. That's really what we're doing. And what it does is it keeps you enslaved to the soul and the thinking of what you were entangled to before, instead of saying, I'm shutting the gate. I'm shutting that door. We're not going to speak about, we're not going to give that energy. We're not going to give that our mental power. And you and I have had conversations about this, right? Because we've fallen into this. We didn't have the best first marriages. And so in the beginning, especially, it was easy to connect on some of the horrible things that your exes did. And they were both this and they both did that. But you don't realize you're bringing those seeds into this current relationship, and there are things you're going to have to pluck out. So we need to be vigilant about the culture that we create inside of our marriage. And the culture is the language that we use. We're either going to reflect the language of heaven, right? The language of life, the language of love, of multiplication, of expansion, of prosperity, of goodness, of peace, or we're going to have the language of division, of anger, of resentment, of bitterness. We got to be careful of the thoughts that we entertain and we encourage each other to think. We have to be careful of our personalities, like who we be in the relationship, who we bring, right? Because every day you wake up and we have a decision of who I'm going to bring to the relationship today. Am I going to bring the 16-year-old version of me that got dumped and feels bad and thinks every guy is probably going to screw you over, right? I'm not saying, using this as an example, because you saw something on TV that triggered you and spiraled you back. Or are you going to bring the wife or the husband that really is here to amplify the relationship? And this is why I say every day, Jesus says we die to the old, right? Every day we die to the old and we're made new again. So every day we're downloading new thoughts. We're downloading new patterns of thinking. We're downloading a new heart. And when, God says, I will give you a new heart. I will restore the former things that were broken. It's like he's doing that. Yes, he's done it, and he'll do it again, and he'll do it again, and he'll keep doing it as long as we are realigning ourselves every day to the new life. But so many of us will say, oh, I want this amazing marriage. We want intimacy. We go away. We have a great weekend together. We have a great date night. And then we go back and we go right back to the old way of thinking. We start complaining. We start nitpicking. We start stressing. Yeah. And this is where we have misalignment. This is where unity cracks, and this is where disconnection happens.
Okay. We have time to touch on the third piece, the physical piece.
Okay, let's talk about
bring us in there. What do we need? What do we need to know? Like this, by the way, this is all like incredibly good. As we go through each of these things, there's 3 little master classes inside this one podcast. It's really incredible. I don't know if you guys understand the level of value.
And here's the deal. If you want to go deeper, you book a call, right? This is what coaching is for. Like, this podcast is here to give you a sneak peek of what's inside of our coaching programs, of the work that we do. Obviously, when you're working with myself and you're going through deepening, restoring your marriage, restoring passion, restoring unity, like, it's a process. And we always work with the spirit, the soul, the mental, all of that, as well as the physical realm, right? So in the physical realm, this is where we're called to be one flesh. Therefore, man shall leave his father and mother and shall be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Mark 10:8-9. And the two shall become one flesh. So they're no longer two, but they're united as one flesh. What God has united and joined together, may no man separate. So the reality is, we know just from, let's just talk about touch and the physicality of things. First of all, the minute we come together, we know our spirits are already entangled. We know our souls are already entangled. And the minute you have sex with someone, which people in marriage are, we've already exchanged DNA. Right? Woman, you've got his seed inside of you. Men, you've got her essence inside of you. Your coding is starting to change. Like, we are just, our bodies start to attune to one another. And here's the thing. If there's been trauma, I just want to say this too, like if there's been trauma in the marriage, if there's been trauma, our bodies are also going to have areas that shut down, right? Memories, because memories are stored in the body. And so it's important to remember, first of all, that our bodies don't belong just to ourselves. They belong to each other. And I feel like I need to say this because I think there's a lot of people that reach out, and I've been on coaching calls where I just want her to want me. I just want her to love me. I want him to, but you're looking at porn, or your mind is wandering and you're masturbating, looking at photos of whatever, and you're taking yourself into rooms you shouldn't be going into. Your body goes wherever your body goes. That's the temple of the Holy Spirit. That's designed for two things, the Holy Spirit and your spouse. And so the body can't lie either because we're mostly energetic. So if you're going, whether you're male or female, and you're taking your body into places and spaces and doing things with your body that are not honoring to God and that are not honoring to your spouse, you're going to have the other person's body is going to respond and shut down to you. It just will. I don't have time to go into all of the science behind it, but the body knows, the body remembers. The body also has memory, right?
Because you're one body.
Because we're one body. And this is why even and this is also true with our children, by the way, sometimes things are going on with our kids and we'll start to feel things that they're feeling in our bodies. So we have to remember that when we're yoked to people, you can't lie. You can't hide certain things and expect that you're still going to have intimacy. So some of you listening might need to pray and say, God, I got to get honest. I got to get clear. I got to get clean. I got to get my body back to my spouse, to you, and treat it as the temple of the living God that it is. If I wouldn't walk in there with God, if I wouldn't walk in there with Jesus, if I wouldn't do it in front of God, I probably shouldn't be doing it. By the way, sex is godly if you're doing it with your spouse, right? He invented sex. So like we're supposed to have sex with our spouse. It's worship. Sex is worship when it's done honorably unto the Lord in the constraints of marriage. Okay. He invented it. But when we are twisting it and we're using it manipulatively to get what we want, to control the other person, right? It can be used inside of marriage in the wrong way. It can be twisted and used distorted inside of marriage too. So we need to start to go, what does it look like to honor my husband or my wife through touch, through my physical body, through sexual and non-sexual touch? Is my body safe? Because that's the second point that I wanted to make as we start to wrap this up, is that sometimes we'll have gone through things, hard things, maybe a season where we were betrayed, maybe a season where we were hurt. The other person hurt us, maybe physically, maybe something happened. And even though we've forgiven emotionally, spiritually, our body is still carrying that coding of that memory. The nervous system remembers. And so you'll be around that person, and it may be your spouse. It might be somebody that you were with before, right? That hurt you, that abused you, that did something. And all of a sudden there's a touch that triggers something in the body that's, I don't know what just happened, but I just shut down, like all systems off. I went from hot to ice cold. Like, I don't know what happened. So we need to ask ourselves, first of all, am I physically safe to be around? Or am I always grabbing and groping and demanding? Or am I shut down, right? Am I open? Am I safe? Am I receptive? And secondly, we need to normalize conversations about how we're actually doing in our nervous systems around each other, what we're carrying, so that we can pray together. We can work through those things together. We can practice being patient, giving our bodies new experiences, right? Different types of touch and things, so that we get into alignment. It requires patience and it requires understanding. And so I know there's so much more that I want to share about the physical body, especially, but the physical body has a lot to do with trust. I trust my body, trusts your body. Your body trusts my body. And my body is at ease around you. A lot of people that are in dysfunctional relationships, they're like, oh my gosh, there's so much passion. There's so much chemistry. When we're together, my body's all lit up. Honey, that's a trauma response. That's not healthy turn on, right? Because their body's all lit up and responding not to the safety and the intimacy. There's a difference that requires discernment and tuning into our body. So we might have to do a whole other podcast on this, but the two main things that I want to say here is if you're looking to rebuild physical intimacy, number one, are you honoring and respecting your body as a temple of the living God? And is it only set apart for the Lord and for your spouse? Mm-hmm. Because if your hands and your mouth and your feet and anything else is being used for anything else, you're opening a door that is shutting a door to physical intimacy over here. Okay? Because now you're yoked, you're literally sexually yoked to something else in the spirit and the soul realm. Because if in the word of God also says, if you don't take your body and go sleep with a prostitute, because now you've yoked your wife to that, right? And so that's number one. And you might need to pray about that and say, Lord, is there anything that I'm doing with my body that's dishonoring you, dishonoring my spouse that I need to know about? Number two is really thinking about, are we creating physical safety and a physical environment where our bodies are calm and responsive towards one another? And probably there's a lot more we can talk about that. But I would say if we start with the spirit realm first, and then the soul, we get our mind aligned, our hearts are aligned. Like intellect is sexy, right? Connecting with somebody mentally on shared dreams, shared projects, shared purpose. This is actually why a lot of affairs happen at work, is people get excited because they're actually working on a mission together with someone else. And it just happens to be the opposite sex. And all of a sudden it turns all these things on. Because why? Because we're designed by God to be on a shared mission and a shared purpose together as husband and wife.
Interesting.
So all of a sudden I don't have that at home, but I have this other person and they have the same mission as me in the marketplace and they're on fire. No, that's what God created for your marriage. But now you're going and getting it over there. It doesn't mean you have to have the same business mission, but you guys have a mission. You do have an assignment. You have something that God has given you to get together around. As an assignment.
I've learned so much today.
You've learned so much. We live this out.
Here's what I'm going to say. I know we live in the same house. We talk about these things. And when I get to sit down and ask questions, I learn better. I learn differently. And there's a lesson and there's a reason I bring this up. And there's a reason I bring it up in that way. When you actually sit down and just ask your spouse these questions and try to create a comfortable environment, I suppose you could just turn on your own Zoom at home and interview each other and say, hey, you know what? If this doesn't go well, we can always delete it, right? But it gives us something, a medium through which to communicate. That's cool. I just want to share this. One of the things that I have done, and I suppose maybe this touches on all three, but for sure the soul and the physical level, which is not even around intimacy necessarily, just around creating safety, managing logistics. And I know you talked about it on the show quite a bit, which is the daily brief. And this is, for me, I need to find a way to systematize ways to activate those soul and physical things. And so I don't walk into a Wegmans. Wegmans is one of our grocery stores here. They have the best flowers. I don't walk into a Wegmans without buying flowers. I'm just like, the first thing I think when I walk in the door is like, oh, I wonder if they have good roses today. That's what, and I've trained myself to think that it's a thing, but I also have the daily brief, and more days than I don't. I write a daily brief Monday through Friday. And recently I posted, first of all, I had shared about this on my podcast with an individual, and he wrote me an email out of the blue. He said, hey, I took your daily brief idea. I'm on brief 10. It's creating so much good conversation. So soul and physical intimacy between my wife and I. Just wanted to say thanks. I'm like, that's awesome. So I got inspired and I screenshotted that message and scratched out his name, and I just put it out on Snapchat. And I said, hey, if anybody wants the blueprint on how to do this, send me a message. And so I had about like a dozen guys within that one day wrote me back, like a bunch of people. So I ended up putting together a whole tutorial. And if you write Christine and on the show,
the link below, we'll get you guys the template.
Yeah, comment, put it in the comments, whatever. We'll get you that tutorial. It's done. It's ready. I created that tutorial. And now I just talked to another guy this morning. He's like, man, I'm on brief 8. It's going great.
It's going great. And also to your point, like that would be another example of physical. The physical also involves the actions, the intentionality of your actions. Like when you walk into the store, when you write that brief. So yes, the brief touches on, it's a physical act of love. It's a spiritual act of love because there's always a prayer or something like that. And it meets us in the soul, right? Because we're sharing in there dreams and what we're doing today and logistics, we're getting on one mind. So yeah.
Anyway, one of the things I write to the guys in the brief is don't expect to write 2 emails and then start having more sex. I said, literally what I tell them is that this is a way for you to systematize being a leader in communication, being a leader in prayer. And so the daily brief touches on all the things, right? It's, hey, here's a little bit. This is something I appreciate about you. This is what's going on today. Here's the list of all the things happening today, right? And even though you have access to my calendar, you could read that. That's how I know what's going on in your day. But I still write down, hey, this is when your meetings are. This is when my meetings are. This is what I've got. Here's the logistics for tonight. And then here's a prayer over the family. So now I'm doing spiritual work. I'm doing soul work. I'm doing physical work all inside of one thing. And I just created that as a system for myself to be able to do all those things. And I told the guys, you don't get to say anything for at least a month. If she doesn't reply back, if she doesn't say anything to you, because I don't think it was maybe 6 months of writing it and I didn't say anything. I just you were saying that you were grateful to get it after a while, and that was good. But the point is that you're showing up consistently. And that's why the brief has numbers, so that she can see how many you've written, but you can. A system for you to do it that way. So I have to relate everything to things that I do. And that's why I say I've learned so much, like the things that we learn to do. Obviously we live in a household that works on these things consistently. This is important to us. And I would imagine anybody listening this far in, these things are important to you too. And this is gold. So go back and listen. And yes, I think we should do a part 3 where we get deeper into the physical side, because I know that's important to people as well.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do part 3. So if you guys want that brief, we'll drop the link below. You guys can grab that awesome framework. And just to say from the woman side of this, and ladies, there's things like this too. We're not going to talk about it today for the sake of time, but when you have a collection of notes like all around you and love messages and prayers and all this stuff, like it's really hard to hold a grudge. It's really hard to have walls up for too long because you have so much evidence of alignment, of spiritual alignment, of just shared thinking, shared desires, shared goals, like good intentions, and that's what we need to do. We need to stack. So a lot of these things that we're talking about today as we wrap, they're things that you're probably doing already inside of your marriage. But when we're unconsciously doing things, we can't actually create a better system around it, right? So knowledge is power when it's applied. So as we learn more and we get more educated, and we now can become even more intentional about how we approach each other, the environment that we're curating, the actions we're choosing, the habits we're doing, like we're getting more intentional about what we physically do, mentally what we think about, and spiritually how we lead at home. This is what creates exponential increase and multiplication in your marriage, you guys. So if you want to get really connected with your spouse at a level that most people will never even be able to touch, you need to get all 3 of these into alignment, into integrity, starting with the spirit first. So thank you for being here. If you enjoyed the show today, make sure you guys comment, subscribe to the show, pass this on to somebody else, and we'll see you next week.